So Trump wouldn't even fly in his VIP clients to the casino that would spend millions in placing bets, because he didn't want to waste the gas, and he was concerned over the prospect of them using his gold-plated toilets and introducing him to strange germs. What a guy. As his Atlantic City escapades began, Trump was in the midst of at least one torrid affair with a 20-year-old beauty queen, no less, named Marla Maples. She was trying unsuccessfully to break into show business. In an attempt to keep his first wife, Ivana, distracted from his dalliances, he would put her in charge of his Trump Castle property, a job for which she was given a salary, as he boasted, of $1 a year and all the dresses she could buy. With Ivana distracted, he became increasingly hot and heavy with Marla, who he put up in a condo at Trump Tower and controlled every aspect of her social life. In the meantime, his relationship with Ivana deteriorated, culminating in a now legendary ski slope showdown in Aspen between his wife and the girlfriend. And according to a sworn deposition that she gave during the divorce, which she would publicly distance herself from later, Donald brutally raped her. After a painful scalp reduction surgery to remove a bald spot, Donald Trump confronted his then wife, who had previously used the same plastic surgeon. "Your fucking doctor has ruined me," Trump cried. What followed was a violent assault. According to Lost Tycoon, Donald held back Ivana's arms and began to pull out fistfuls of hair from her scalp, as if to mirror the pain he felt from his own operation. He tore off his clothes and unzipped his pants. This is very graphic. She describes what happened, that he jams for the first time in more than 16 months. She's terrified. It's a violent assault. Following the incident, Ivana ran upstairs, hid behind a locked door, and remained there crying for the rest of the night. When she returned to the master bedroom in the morning, he was there. As she looks in horror at the ripped-out hair scattered all over the bed, he glares at her and asks with menacing casualness, "Does it hurt?" Trump, perhaps inspired by the success of John Casablancas and earned media, decided to turn the ending of his first marriage into a Greek tragedy for the ages. New personas were created in the form of publicists that had sounded uncannily like Donald Trump himself. These personas called reporters to scoop them on salacious details of his exploits. Trump and or his alter ego publicist would call Page 6 reporter Liz Smith and others incessantly to let them know that Mr. Trump, while still technically married and already carrying on a serious relationship with his mistress, was nonetheless the object of unbridled desire by the most beautiful women on the planet, who he apparently had to beat off with a stick. Madonna was chasing him around like a dog in heat. He was bedding literally dozens of models, a different one every day of the week. Kim Basinger was among his many conquests, and Carla Bruni, at the time one of the most high-profile supermodels in the world, was pursuing him to the point that restraining orders might end up necessary. Such was the sexual magnetism of the Donald in the late 80s, early 90s. To hear him, publicist John Barron, say it. Of course, the fake publicist ruse eventually caught up with him. Page 6 reporters were all too familiar with the voice of Donald Trump, and as was Marla Maples, who they played the tape for to confirm. And eventually Trump would admit that the story about Carla Bruni was just really a way to get his long-suffering mistress jealous. And yet, despite the fact that the ostensible relationship was entirely fictional, Trump had continued to act like he did in fact have an affair with Carla Bruni. As recently as 2008, in an interview with Howard Stern, he played coy when asked about his past dalliances with Bruni, who went on to become the first lady of France after marrying Nicolas Sarkozy, and made the now infamous comment about her less than impressive breasts, saying, "Very hard to be a 10 when you're flat-chested." Bruni, for her part, vehemently denied that she was ever romantically involved with Trump and said she felt humiliated by the story. Indeed, she had a very different account of their one and only encounter. As she remembers it, while in New York City for a charity event, Donald Trump tracked her down at her hotel and tried to get into her pants. Thoroughly uninterested and annoyed, Carla would ultimately trick Trump into paying for a master suite in a hotel where she was staying. A suite where Carla and her friends spent the next few days ordering room service and gloating over the way they fooled the king of tacky. She speculated it may have been in retaliation for her rejection that Trump planted the story that they were romantically involved. A year later, she would sum up the entire scandal in one perfect sentence: Trump has obviously always been a lunatic. Trump's bizarre behavior around Carla, and women generally, turns out to have been fairly typical for Donald Trump. In fact, it gives us quite an interesting glimpse into his personality. You see, despite his attempts to portray himself as Don Juan, he really didn't have much in the way of game, at least according to those who knew him. In all honesty, Donald is completely awkward with women. with women, a Trump insider told the New York Daily News in a July 2016 interview. He never developed small talk. He's not very social. He doesn't have any friends. Plus, he's completely paranoid about venereal diseases and AIDS. This is why that girl that accused him, she said the first time she met him, she had to use her hand on him. And they were like, no, you have to use a glove. God, it all fits. It all fits. It all fits. Believe the survivors. Believe the fucking survivors, man. In light of this, and considering the other things that were going on in his life, I will make an observation. Trump had been in the public eye for around 30 years, and his personal life, including romantic dalliances, have been exhaustingly covered. Yet within these multiple decades in the public eye, there was a period of a little under 5 years in which Trump faced multiple accusations of sexual harassment and assault. To me, at least, the high number of accusations within a short period of time are striking, as are similarities between each woman's account. His alleged rape of his first wife, Ivana, takes place in late 1989. He was accused of sexually harassing a model in 1992. A lawsuit filed by Jill Harth alleged ongoing sexual misconduct, including an attempted rape over the course of 2 months spanning between 1993 and 1994, and his alleged rape of a 13-year-old girl, which I will discuss in more detail in the next installment, was reported as taking place in early 1994. As far as I'm aware, no other allegations have surfaced, although women in both his employ and personal life have spoken out about his continued inappropriate behavior and comments. In 1989 to 1995 just so happens to be the same time period in which Donald Trump's world and empire was falling apart at the seams. In the beginning of the decade, he was facing the end of his first marriage and a looming court battle. Despite his purportedly active dating life, by many accounts, Trump was being rejected by many, if not most, of the women he pursued, including Carla Bruni and Jill Harth. Marla Maples, after years of being secret mistress and repeated rounds of being dumped and publicly humiliated by Trump, was starting to lose her patience. And the big gamble he took in Atlantic City was, by all accounts, failing miserably, a direct result of his jaw-droppingly awful business practices and general incompetence. In 1991, his Taj Mahal casino filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. In 1992, he again filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, this time on his Trump Plaza Hotel, also in Atlantic City, at the time owing $550 million. Recall that he would report an almost $1 billion loss on his 1995 tax returns, according to the copies obtained by the New York Times. Indeed, the early 90s were not a very good era for Donald Trump. In light of this fact, it's worth noting that the sexual assault allegations against him are all clustered with this very time frame. In light of this, and considering other things that were going on in his life, I will make an observation. Casablancas in the 1980s, the beginning of the end. For his part, John Casablancas. So I think I'm going to stop here and then we'll finish up. I'll finish up with the Casablancas in the next video.